May 20th, 2013, an EF5 tornado tore through Moore, Oklahoma, creating a damage path over a mile wide and 17 miles long. Winds reached 210 miles per hour. In just 39 minutes, it destroyed over 1,100 homes, leveled 2 schools, severely damaged a hospital, and claimed 24 lives. Although the damage and fatalities were devastating, what is extraordinary in this story is that advanced science and 16 minutes of early warning prevented what could have been thousands of deaths. By the end of this video, you'll understand how this tornado with 210 miles per hour winds became both a devastating tragedy and a crucial turning point for meteorology, building safety, and emergency response. And you'll discover how the deaths of 7 third graders in a school changed tornado shelter standards forever. Although May 20th, 2013 began as a calm and ordinary spring morning across central Oklahoma, meteorologists were on high alert. The Storm Prediction Center had already issued a high-risk outlook overnight, a rare warning that meant all the ingredients for violent tornadoes were in place. By early afternoon, towering storm clouds developed near Chickasha. Meteorologists issued a warning at 2:40 p.m. that a tornado was imminent. At 2:56 p.m. Central Daylight Time, the tornado first touched down in a rural area northwest of Newcastle. At first it was small, only a few hundred yards wide, but as it moved east-northeast, it rapidly grew in size and strength. Within minutes, the tornado crossed the Canadian River and began to expand dramatically. By the time it approached the western edge of Moore, it had already grown to more than half a mile wide, with winds accelerating into the most violent range on Earth. Between 3:01 and 3:10 p.m., the tornado carved its way directly into residential neighborhoods. Entire subdivisions were leveled in minutes. Roofs were ripped off homes, cars were tossed through the air, and power lines snapped like twigs. At around 3:11 p.m., the tornado reached its peak intensity. It had grown to more than 1.3 miles across, with winds exceeding 200 miles per hour. This was when Plaza Towers Elementary School was destroyed. Briarwood Elementary was reduced to rubble, and hundreds of homes were obliterated. The destruction didn't stop there. Between 3:16 and 3:30 p.m., the tornado crossed Interstate 35, one of Oklahoma's busiest highways. Moore Medical Center was struck directly, leaving the building heavily damaged and forcing an emergency evacuation of patients and staff. Commercial areas, businesses, and densely packed neighborhoods were also leveled during these harrowing minutes. Finally, at 3:34 p.m., after 39 relentless minutes on the ground, the tornado weakened and dissipated just east of Moore near Lake Stanley Draper. In that short span of time, it left behind a path of devastation stretching 17 miles long and more than a mile wide at its peak. As a result of this tornado, 24 lives were lost, 212 people were injured, and damages neared $2 billion. Yet even in this destruction, thousands of lives were saved. Meteorologists had issued the tornado warning a full 16 minutes before the funnel touched down.
The warning then comes out from the local weather office, and that warning came out 16 minutes before the tornado formed. The radar indicates a tornado could form with all the latest technology we have. They issued the warning, the sirens go off, 151 sirens and a new safety net that was set up in this entire region. All those sirens going off near the schools, warning 16 minutes in advance, and if you're in the place you're supposed to be, 16 minutes is a lot of time.
And because the storm's track was so well observed, many residents in Moore had almost a half hour to seek shelter. By tornado standards, that is an extraordinarily long period of time to prepare. The national average warning time back then was only about 14 minutes, and most tornadoes don't even last half that long. For a violent EF5, this was one of the longest and most effective lead times ever achieved. Those minutes meant survival for countless families who had just enough time to take shelter. Creating a tornado of this magnitude requires a perfect storm of conditions. Warm, moist air surging north from the Gulf of Mexico, cold, dry air pushing south from Canada, and crucial wind shear, winds changing speed and direction at different altitudes that create the initial rotation. What made this tornado historically significant wasn't just its power, but how it was tracked. NOAA's Advanced Phased Array Radar and Mobile Doppler units captured unprecedented real-time data as the supercell developed. These systems could scan the atmosphere in seconds rather than minutes, revealing the tornado's internal structure and helping forecasters issue those life-saving early warnings. The technology literally let meteorologists see inside the storm as it was forming. The Moore tornado produced winds measured at over 210 miles per hour, some of the fastest ever recorded on Earth. At that speed, air exerts about 110 pounds of pressure on every square foot of surface. A typical exterior door would face more than 2,300 pounds of force, like having a small car pushing sideways against it. The reason this is so destructive is that wind force rises with the square of velocity. That means 210 miles per hour winds don't just hit twice as hard as 105 miles per hour winds, they hit 4 times harder. This is why even small increases in wind speed cause damage to skyrocket during violent storms. On the enhanced Fujita scale, tornadoes aren't rated by raw wind speed alone, but by the destruction left behind. Survey teams examine how well-built structures withstand the storm. When even reinforced buildings are swept away, the evidence is clear. It's an EF5. And that's exactly what happened in Moore. Entire neighborhoods were scoured to their foundations, schools were reduced to rubble, and massive industrial objects were tossed like toys. The damage indicators told the story. This was the most extreme category of tornado. The Moore tornado's most heartbreaking lesson came from Plaza Towers Elementary School. 7 third-grade students lost their lives when their classroom collapsed. These children had followed emergency protocols, taking shelter in what was designated as the safest part of the school. But the building lacked a proper storm shelter, and the safe room wasn't engineered to withstand EF5 winds. Their deaths became a catalyst for nationwide changes in school safety standards. Today, new schools in tornado-prone areas must include FEMA-rated safe rooms capable of withstanding 250-mile-per-hour winds. The Plaza Towers 7 Memorial now stands as both a tribute to these children and a reminder of why building codes matter. While the tragedy at Plaza Towers showed us the tornado's devastating power, another story was unfolding just blocks away that would prove how remarkable human resilience can be. At Moore Medical Center, Shayla Taylor had arrived that morning to have her labor induced as scheduled. But by early afternoon, as labor progressed, the medical staff was monitoring more than just her contractions. They were tracking an EF5 tornado heading directly toward the hospital. At 2:40 p.m., a tornado emergency was declared. Taylor had already received an epidural, which meant she couldn't move freely. She was trapped on the second floor as 210 miles per hour winds approached. Her husband Jerome and their 4-year-old son Shaden were rushed downstairs to the cafeteria for safety, but Shayla couldn't be moved. The nurses made a split-second decision. They wheeled her into a windowless operating room, the safest space they could find, and stacked heated towels from the warmer on top of her for protection. Then the tornado hit. The entire outer wall of the operating room was ripped away. Equipment and debris flew through the air as 3 courageous nurses used their own bodies to shield Shayla from the destruction. When the chaos ended, she opened her eyes to an impossible sight. "I could see I-35 and the movie theater," she said. There was no wall there anymore, but everyone in that room had survived. Jerome, desperate to find his wife, convinced a Good Samaritan named Alan Coffey to help him navigate through the destroyed building with flashlights. Together, they found Shayla still conscious in the debris-filled operating room, protected by those 3 heroic nurses. They carried her out on a firefighter's backboard through the wreckage to an ambulance. Just 2 hours later, at Norman Regional Hospital, Shayla gave birth to a healthy 8-pound, 3-ounce baby boy. She named him Braden Emmanuel, God is with us. In the tornado's aftermath, teams from FEMA and NIST conducted detailed damage surveys that fundamentally reshaped how we think about tornado-resistant design. They found homes swept completely from their foundations, schools reduced to rubble, and the Moore Medical Center severely compromised. Yet structures built to newer codes consistently performed better. The surveys revealed that much of the catastrophic damage resulted from poor construction practices and inadequate anchoring systems. These findings didn't just inform academic papers. They led to immediate updates in building codes across Tornado Alley, requiring stronger foundation connections, impact-resistant windows, and properly engineered safe rooms. The 2013 Moore tornado created the most comprehensive tornado dataset in history, combining high-resolution radar data, photogrammetric analysis, detailed damage surveys, and emergency response records. This treasure trove of information sparked a technological revolution in severe weather forecasting. Today, dual polarization radar can identify tornado debris in real time. Machine learning algorithms process atmospheric data faster than ever before, and meteorologists can issue warnings with unprecedented accuracy. The average tornado warning lead time has increased, and false alarm rates have decreased. What's remarkable is that these improvements trace back directly to lessons learned from those 39 minutes of destruction and more. Here's something worth investigating if you live in a tornado-prone area. How prepared is your community today? Do your schools and homes have proper safe rooms? Are your warning systems adequate? Do you have multiple ways to receive alerts? The families of Moore had to confront these questions in the most tragic way possible. The 2013 Moore tornado remains a day that will always live in the hearts of all Oklahomans. A devastating collision between nature's raw power and human vulnerability that ultimately showcased human resilience and ingenuity. Thanks to advanced radar technology, improved warning systems, and the painful lessons learned from Plaza Towers Elementary, communities across Tornado Alley are safer today. Building codes are stronger, safe rooms are properly engineered, and emergency response protocols have been refined. The real legacy of this tornado isn't just the destruction it caused. It's the lives being saved today because we chose to learn from tragedy. That's how progress happens in meteorology, in engineering, and in building resilient communities. Stay weather aware, stay prepared, and remember, the most powerful response to nature's fury is human determination to do better. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe because we're exploring all the incredible forces that shape our world. From the tiniest atoms to the largest galaxies, there's always another amazing story waiting to be told.